Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Amelia and Veronica for the invitation. It's my pleasure to be here to talk about the PAD office and the work I've been doing here in Brazil. So let's go started. I'm going to talk about the challenges and opportunities in creating a skin lesion data set, which in this case was the PAD office 20. Um, So, what is the PAD Office 20 dataset? It's a dataset composed of clinical images collected from a smartphone device and patient clinical data, which I also call metadata. This dataset contains 2,298 images of 1,641 skin lesions collected from 1,373 patients. The main innovation here is the number of clinical information. Beyond having at least one image, each sample in the dataset has up to 21 clinical features, such as anatomical region, diameter, cancer history, and the Fitzpatrick skin type, which is kind of rare to see in a public skin lesion dataset. Uh, the dataset contains 6 different types of skin lesions, including 3 types of skin cancer. As you can see in this table, all cancers, which are the basal cell carcinoma, squamous cell carcinoma, and the melanoma, uh, they are all by biopsy proven. And the other type of skin lesions, only a percentage were biopsied. Um, well, in this column here, you may see the number of samples for each lesion. And I'd like to highlight the number of melanoma samples here, which is only 52, right? Quite often I hear people say, oh, it's too few, you should increase this number. Yes, I do agree, but it's super challenging to do it. And that's the point I try to show here. We can't just find a melanoma in the corner, right? So it's really hard to find them. And in addition, that's the challenge of working with medical data set. We don't have as many data as we want. So of course, we need to learn how to deal with this issue. And here we may see some samples from each type of skin lesion present in the data set. Since it's collected from different smartphone device, the image quality may vary. So we try to keep quality as high as possible when selected the image that went to the data set. Actually, we have much more images stored, but they were not released at the time because of poor quality. Uh, and so many people ask me, what does PAD Office 20 mean? So in Portuguese, we say PAD, right? The PAD. The meaning is quite simple. The PAD is an acronym in Portuguese, of course, for Dermatological and Surgical Assistant Project, which we are going to talk about in a minute. And the office is the same idea. It's the acronym for the name of my university here in Brazil, in Portuguese, of course. And this number is just the released year, which was 2020, right? So when you release a new version of this data set, and we have plans to do so, we're just going to update this number. Well, it's impossible to talk about the data set without mentioning the PAD OOFS project. What is that? So it's a non-profit project founded at OOFS in 1987. So it's 36 years ago. Back at the time, two professors, Professor Barros and Professor Clay, from the OOFS Medical School, they observed a high incidence of skin cancer here in our state, in Espírito Santo, Brazil. Uh, After an investigation, they realized that this high incidence was mainly caused by a strong immigration from Europe, in particular from Pomerania, which is a region between Germany and Poland. those immigrants and now their descendants too, they are mostly farm workers. So they spend a lot of time on sun exposure, and they have a very fair skin, mostly Fitzpatrick 1 and 2. So this was the perfect combination for spreading skin cancer in the region. And just to put it in numbers, today in my state, according to the Brazilian government, skin cancer accounts for over 40% of all types of cancer. So for those reasons, Professor Barros and Professor Clay founded the PED office to assist those people. And here, just for curiosity, people from the immigration region here, they are very proud of their culture. And yes, this picture is here in Brazil. They have parties to celebrate their country. Also, many of them learn Pomeranian as the first language. Pomerania is close to German language, but it's not German. It's just a dialect. Uh, and some of them, they don't even speak Portuguese, only Pomeranian. Uh, After 36 years, the PADI office project has grown a lot. And today it provides free care for thousands of people here in Brazil. Most of those people, they can afford a private treatment. In Brazil, we does have a public health system, which works well, but as any other public health system in the world, it's not enough to deal with this high demand of skin cancer. So once in a month, a group of professors, doctors, students, volunteers, all members of this project, they travel to the countryside to assist the population from screening to surgery if needed. The project assists 12 cities and around 4,000 appointments per year. And I'm very suspicious to talk about it because I work on this project, but it's an amazing project that I'm very proud to be part of. But in terms of collecting data for a data set, this is the first challenge. The priority here is to provide assistance to the population. Collecting data is just a plus, as we're going to see in a moment. Uh, in any case, I just want to highlight that I'm representing hundreds of professionals and students here who work really hard to make this project happen. If you want to know more about us and about the project, you may follow the Instagram page here or just watch our institutional video on YouTube. Uh, but okay, this talk is about building a data set. So when does the data set start came in, right? Well, it started in 2017 when Professor Renato Crolin, which was my PhD advisor, he started a partnership with the Pacheco project. So since that time, I started to work with them in this topic. And our goal, from the computer science researcher's point of view, was to create a data set to train, at that time, to train our skin cancer detection algorithms. So we just mapped the main challenge we needed to face at that time. And this was the list that we found. First of all, we needed to convince the doctor to collaborate with us. We needed to design and develop a software to collect and store sensible data. Training doctors and students to use the application and collect data for us. Coordinate the data collection. And we need a data quality selection, which later we call data audit. So let's go through each challenge in a sequence. And first of all, we needed to convince the doctors. You may think it was easy, but it was not. Usually, when you talk about artificial intelligence with someone outside the field, the first thing that comes to mind is replacement, right? That's okay. It's fair enough. We see it a lot, right? Uh, However, we argue with the doctors that our focus was and still is on collaboration, not replacement. And another thing is they don't have the open source culture in the medical field. Releasing a data set for them was like a complete nonsense. They thought something like, hey, I worked so hard on this. Why do I make it public, right? Uh, Fortunately, after some rounds of conversations, we convinced them that it was a good idea that would pay back in the future. And this was exactly what happened. We achieved many good things like prize and public funding after releasing this data set. And now they can see the whole picture, and our relationship is pretty good. But it took some time to build this confidence. Another super challenge for us was the development of a software platform to collect and store data. We need to do that from scratch. Uh, we didn't have this software, right? Uh, uh, this software has a lot of prerequisites since it must handle sensible data. So we developed this software called Sage in Portuguese, um, which has multiple features. Of course, I'm not going to list all of them here, but it took us some time and patience to make it stable and feasible to store data because it's also related with a smartphone application. We needed to develop this application to collect the data. Uh, in summary, it was a multi-platform app, which means it worked for Android and iOS. You may see it here. It's not beauty, but it worked pretty well. Uh, and since PadUFIS goes to rural and remote areas, it needed to work offline. So it was another challenge that we solved some work. We solved that by doing this app working something like this. Uh, when our appointments are over and the data set is connected to the internet again, it syncs everything with the web server, uh, which is the web server is the Sage, which you showed in the previous slide. Uh, Today, we have changed this architecture a little bit. We just threw this application away and focus only on responsible web pages. The reason is kind of obvious. It's really work for maintaining all this piece of software when you're not a software company. So we decided to reduce to just one platform, and it has been proven to be a great decision because it's much easier to maintain right now. The next challenge uh, is training people. This is super important to ensure a good data collection. In our case, it was challenging because there are hundreds of people working in this project. And in addition, we're not a hospital or something like that. It is a university, so we work with a lot of students. And the turnover rate for students is high. So training is a continuous task that never ends. We need to do it over and over again. And it communicates with the next challenge, which is coordination of the data collection. Uh, as I said before, there are a lot of people working simultaneously on this project, and you need to make sure that everything is going well. And of course, always remember then, please don't send us poor quality data because it's going to be removed in the future, right? And mainly for melanoma because they are very, very rare, right? And the last but not the least main challenge is the data quality selection, which you call data audit. We have a very well-defined pipeline on Sage, our software, collection software, to tag sample as good for the dataset. And we review every single sample to ensure that nothing is missing or wrong in the dataset. Um, Unfortunately, in this phase, we need to remove uh, 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 more samples than we wish. Uh, and when the removing rate is high, it means we are failing in the training phase, right? So we start to pay more attention on that phase when it happens. And as I said before, that's a phase that never ends. We need to return that every time. And after all this challenge come the opportunities. Um, this is an active research field with many open questions. So we have many problems to work, which is great for research. And since we started to work on this data set, we have achieved a pretty good know-how in the field, which brought us some international reputation. We've got, for example, we've got a best paper at ISEEK workshop in CVPR, third place in the ISEEK challenge in the metadata task, which is pretty much related with our data set. We have made different contributions in the field, and I'm 100% sure that working at Pacheco building this data set was essential to achieve all of this. And more recently, we started a new project called Pagetech, which is an effort to make a feasible computer diagnosing system for skin cancer in the public health system in Brazil. So we have been participating in some tech fairs to talk about the solution. And we already have a partnership with the government here to implant such a system. We hope to do that in the near future. So in general, this is a rich environment for innovation and create new technologies. And it's good because it attracts new talents to work with us. We need them, right? Uh, just before finish this presentation, we're approaching to the end, but I just would like to share a few suggestions to those who want to start building a data set like this one. The first one is you need to design very well the collection system and the target features that you want to collect. This is a very important step. However, don't be upset if it won't work 100%, because probably it will break at some point, and you are going to need to fix that. So problems are going to happen. Expect this. The second suggestion is dealing with people is hard, but dealing with people with different backgrounds is even harder. So you must learn how to solve conflicts. It's very important here. And of course, not only when building a data set, it's a pretty good skill to have. But it may seem obvious, but most people, they don't think about it. So be a conflict solver if you need, and you're gonna need. Finally, data collection may take a while, especially for rare disease as melanoma. Be patient. 52 melanomas are not too few, as someone else who never collected anything may say. Give it time. You need to be patient because collection is slow and hard. And as final remarks here, as I said before, the project turned 36 this year, and fortunately, it's more active than ever. And it's funny here because there is a competition among the students from the medical school to work on the project because it has a great reputation over here. Right now, we have 1,000 of new samples in a database that we hope to release a new version of the dataset soon. Again, I hope, because it takes time. And right now, we are working to include more types of images in the dataset, in particular, images from dermatoscope and histology. So far as I know, there is no public dataset like this, including all this type of images if you do that. But again, it may take a while to help. You need to be patient. And just before I leave here and finish the presentation, I just would like to share a personal story. A few weeks ago, my mom, and this one in this picture, and my aunt, this one, they shared with me some pictures of ugly spots on their skin. So I took the pictures and the clinical information and fed our diagnosis model. And the model returned a red alert. It says you need attention. So I scheduled an appointment to them at Pacheco office, and it turned out my aunt was diagnosed with melanoma. For those who don't know, melanoma is the most I would say it can kill if you don't treat it right. It's the dangerous one. So right now I have a relative in the database, but it's not the point. The point here is that it made me wonder a lot because I started to think in the sequence of events that begins with me starting to work in this field a couple of years ago and ends with this diagnosis that my aunt got. And obviously, I conclude that if all this work somehow helped to save my aunt's life, it was worth a lot, right? This is very workful, tireful, but it was worth a lot, right? So to finish here, again, I'd like to thank our sponsors and supporters, my university who make this project work, and of course, thank you a lot for your time and feel free to get in touch with me if you have any questions.